Hi, I'm Lori.
And I'm Kevin, and this is No Longer Ashamed.
We are survivors of childhood sexual abuse.
And we're here to share with you that if you're a survivor, you don't have to be alone.
Our logo is a salamander, and the reason is a fire salamander can survive a fire, and you have survived a fire.
We want to help you with your journey to healing and hope.
We are all survivors together, and we walk this journey together, and you are not alone.
By telling our stories, we are hoping that you will have the courage to share your stories as well and find your voice.
Because stories are so important, and for so long I know that I wouldn't tell my story, but when I finally shared my story, that's when I got my freedom.
And this is our journey and your journey to healing and hope. So come with us.
And we are welcoming back our friend Mike. So anyway, we had Mike on in the beginning. He was probably our fourth, maybe, or fifth podcast.
He was our very first interview.
On episode 10, I looked episode 10, but I was your first interview.
Yes.
And you were my first interview, my first podcast that I had done an interview for. So
and you have done so much now, so it's so fun to follow up. Do you want to list some of the things you've done?
Let's see. I did your panel discussion. I don't even remember when that was, but it was fun. I was on with Luke, who's been interviewed as well, and that was really good. I shared my story at my own recovery group that I go to. I've been going to for a couple of years. Shared it there, and they record and post things on YouTube. I was part of the Men Healing / Men's Story Project, where they worked with about a dozen of us, male survivors, to workshop our stories over several weeks. And then we each shared about 10, 11, 12-minute story testimony. And they posted that all on YouTube. And the project, that part, and then in addition, other parts of their website won a local Emmy Award this last year. So
they did?
Yes, that was very exciting. It was out of New York, I think. I don't know how these local Emmy, but it qualified for a local New York Emmy Award, I guess.
Wow.
So I thought that was cool.
That's
very honored to be involved in that.
That's the Male Survivor website?
It was with Men Healing, which Male Survivor had done in-person weekends of recovery for a while, but that in itself got so big, they then spun off and it became Men Healing. And then that group only did those weekend recovery things, and it's grown as well. Yeah. So they have other additional ways that they're working with men, especially after COVID hit. They've done several Zoom mini retreats since their in-person ones pretty much got canceled. They've done other things, and now they're kind of redeveloping and offering both now in person and these Zoom weekends as well. And very well done. I've attended one of those and they're in person. Then I was able to work on that video workshopping, and that went extremely well. And that timing wise, that helped me prepare for sharing my story in person as well, which happened right around that same time period. So by workshopping it, I was able to tweak it enough where I felt enough confidence about sharing and got to say what I wanted to say with the most impact, I guess.
Yeah.
I noticed that in your last video. I said, he's been working on this. And there is a lot of power, number one, to telling your story, but then workshopping it helps because you get past a lot of the, like you said, the insecurities. You're a little more confident. You can say it with a little more power. You know, I thought your story was fine in the beginning, but I really did notice that difference in the last video, which we have on our Facebook page, if you'd like to see that.
And part of workshopping, you're telling it again and again and again and again. So you've got a partner and you share it with them, and you got a mentor and you share it with them, and then you share it in the group. And so you're sharing it again and again. It's like, well, let's work on it this side and let's work on it this way, and so forth. They want more of the thriver. What happens now that you've gotten some healing? Where are you now? Because hope is so key, because so many survivors feel so hopeless. So having that as part of your story, that yes, you've not only gotten through it and you're getting help and you're getting therapy, great, but now what? how is your life changed as a result of your healing? And so being able to open up and share that part of my story as well has been very effective, and they encouraged me with that.
Yeah, that's very exciting because I love watching what you've been doing since our interview and all the growth I've been seeing that's just been phenomenal. And not only with your healing with being a survivor, but now you're officially Santa and
Yes.
you're doing
Yes.
amazing work with that because you're working with the deaf and hard of hearing. You're assigning Santa and you're reaching out to kids that my wife is also an interpreter. I know how much it matters for deaf people and especially deaf children to be able to communicate with someone. And that
Yes.
is so amazing.
Yes, that was kind of part of my story that in 2019, I was asked because I've been growing out my beard and I've been a sign language interpreter for over 30 years. They said, well, hey, would you like to be our Santa this year? And what they do is they team up with a local mall, and then whoever is the volunteer Santa gets to use their official mall Santa suit and be on their official Santa mall set. But you come in early and then you open it up to the deaf community. But then also any other child who comes in during that time gets to spend time with that Santa, which that year was me. So I was official Santa for 2 hours. Yes, we had several deaf families come in, but then all the other people came in too who were there and sat on Santa's lap. And this was a year before COVID. So I got to experience that. It was such a blast, and it just fed so much of that inner child inside of me and just sharing joy. And it was just amazing. And then when COVID hit, the mall, that same mall, they were impressed with how serious I took it. And I took it very seriously. And I took classes and figured out makeup and the temporary white I put on the beard and the hair. And they appreciated how I took it seriously. And then when COVID hit, the agency that they used to hire the photographer and the Santas, they could not agree on COVID protocol. So they said, well, we're just going to hire our own Santa. And they remembered me and they said, hey, do you want to do this full time this next year? So for 2020, I became that mall Santa and absolutely loved it. It was reduced hours, socially distant, of course, but they allowed free selfies instead of a photographer. So the mall made no profit on it. It just brought people into the mall. It went very, very well. Then I started to get more and more serious about the Santa thing while prepping for that and taking more workshops and classes and so forth. Now this year I was doing it even more and doing video visits, in-person visits and home visits and corporate things, Zoom parties, and just about everything on top of doing the mall work, which I enjoyed as well. So yes, it's definitely a full thing, and making that part of my story as well. That yes, all these horrible things happened to me. I'm not going to go into all the details, but yes, I'm a survivor of abuse, incestual abuse from my father, basically from when I was an infant till when I was 5, then trafficked by him to other men till I was 8. Then when I was 20, late bloomer, looked like I was 16, a Methodist minister sexually assaulted me, was hoping it would lead to more, I think, but I was able to stop him. But that was my abuse history, along with other life traumas and so forth. But to come out of that, recover from that, and yes, show that I'm thriving, that I'm really seeking out recovery and working with my issues, dealing with my issues. And it's not easy. It's very difficult at times because you have to face it head on and deal with all the crap that was put in there. It gets very dirty and messy trying to get it all out, but definitely worth it. It's hardest thing I've ever had to do in my life, but definitely worth it. Now I am part of husbandmaterial.com, which works with, it's a Christian ministry online that helps men recover from pornography addiction, but they are expanding for any other sexual brokenness issue. They've been around for about 2 years. They've helped me so much in my healing. They've seen how far I've come, asked me to be in leadership. And now I am, as of February 1st, 2022, a recovery life coach for them.
Mm-hmm.
As well as being a moderator on their website and so forth. So,
what does that look like, being a recovery coach for that? I mean, is it one-on-one? Is it what is that?
Well, they offer two options for coaching. One is group work, where you're either going through husband material. They have their own academy where they have their own lessons that you can go through, and that is an option. Or if you choose a book study that you want to go through, some of the coaches do that and go through a specific book for its healing. And then they also offer one-on-one coaching. So whether it's a few sessions or multiple sessions, whatever the participant feels that they need,
Mm-hmm.
working together with the coach and trying to encourage them in their recovery journey. And so those are options. I'm starting out just on the one-on-one, but I will probably eventually add group work. There's a lot of good books out there because, yes, I've had Freedom from Porn for over 3 years now, okay? But my focus is on abuse recovery, sexual abuse recovery. So that will be more of my focus. And there's a large percentage of men who this is part of their story as well.
Mm-hmm.
And that to really get away from the addictions, you come to the core issues. And for many abuse survivors, that's a huge core issue that needs to be dealt with to heal from all those symptoms that are happening as a result. So there are so many good books out there.
Can you name some?
I know Wounded Heart, and the author of that has a second book and workbook series, Healing the Wounded Heart, I believe. I believe that's Allender.
I think
that's definitely one I'm going to most likely pursue. And I know his original book helped me when I was first dealing with this, and I had gone through it probably a good 3 times at least over the years, and very, very helpful. And yes, he's come up with a sequel. So that's very exciting. And then also Husband Material, just a little plug. They're actually at the end of February doing a virtual retreat with the topic of healing from sexual abuse. And this is a retreat for Christian men who, whether you've been abused or feel this might be part of your story, I know many survivors have repressed memories.
Yes.
Or if you feel you were sexually used or inappropriate stuff happened, it's going to be helpful. And that information, it's husbandmaterial.com/retreat is information on their retreat, and husbandmaterial.com, all about their ministry. They've got tons of free options, a free podcast, lots of free materials, and they also offer paid options, but there's plenty of free stuff. And I went through their free stuff for several months. It helped me so much. Then I actually went to their virtual retreat last year, and that kind of got me hooked. It helped me so much last year. It was a different topic than what they have this year, but it still was very, very helpful. Now I'm becoming a life coach for them, which is so exciting. And in fact, I'm going through training with Lori with her Recovery Coach Academy lessons, and I'm learning so much about that. I can't wait to put that into use.
Is this the retreat you're going to also, Kevin?
Yep, I will be there.
I'm so excited that Kevin's going to be a part. And
so
the main speaker is Dr. Doug Carpenter, and he's written one book called Childhood Trauma and the Non-Alpha Male. Was his first book, written a few years ago. I'm amazed I remember that title off the top of my head. And he just came out. It just posted on Amazon this week. Secret Shame. I don't recall what the subtitle of it is, but basically it's dealing with male sexual abuse, male childhood sexual abuse specifically, and how it affects males.
And your poems are in it.
Oh, and yes, the poems that I had written, he was very impressed with them, and he asked if he could include them in his book, and I was thrilled. So if you buy the book, they're at the end of chapter 2. And I'm so honored to have those poems be a part of it. I've shared those poems a few different places online as well. It's an honor. How they came about during therapy, my therapist said that because that trauma happened when I was so little, that really pre-verbal.
Yeah.
However, when he's worked with clients in the past, they still have full access of all your faculties, even though at the time they were pre-verbal. So they have a hard time speaking words about what it was, but give them a keyboard. And they can pour out words, and they've had clients just grab their phone and just start texting furiously, just making tons and tons and tons of words coming out, describing what happened. And that's kind of what happened to me. He said, give them time. And I did. And these poems just poured out. One for infant me who was abused, and a 3-year-old me who was abused. The poems, and I don't write poetry at all. I mean, I appreciate poetry. Yeah, it just poured out of me, and I read it, and it's like, yeah, I barely had to edit anything. It just poured out, and it's amazing, and they're very deep. And when I read them, I give all kinds of trigger warnings because, yeah, they're from a very wounded place, and they talk very bluntly about the abuse. They can be horribly triggering, but there's just so much truth being shared, and it's very much an honor. And those little parts of me, they love sharing their truth. They love sharing the poems, and they're thrilled when anyone gets a chance to read it. And they were thrilled when Doug asked me to publish them, and that was 1.5 years ago. Now that they're actually in print, it's very, very exciting, and that people get to read it. And at first, I wasn't going to have my real name when he asked me 1.5 years ago, but I got through enough healing. It's like, yeah, add my real name. That would be wonderful. And so he has. So, and I'm going through his book now. I've gotten through the first several chapters. It's deep, it's triggering, but very helpful, and triggering in a good way, like bringing stuff up that you got to deal with, and it's helpful. And there's several aha moments. It's like, oh, I never thought of it that way. Oh, and so I'm making a few little links. Then because Doug's a friend, I'm actually talking to him. It's like, well, this is what this chapter spoke to me, because it just came out, he hasn't gotten that reader's perspective. So it's really wonderful for him to have that. And I'm glad I can share that with him, because it's a wonderful book.
We'll put a link in the show notes when we publish this so that people can find that book.
That would be wonderful. And it's only available on Amazon right now. So it's easy to find, but I looked on elsewhere, but right now it's just on Amazon. And it is, will not be the textbook for the retreat. It's just a recommended reading for the retreat, but I would add my recommendation to it as well. It goes very deep and very detailed, tons of research. He filters that with stories about 13 men that he's worked with personally, with different types and levels of sexual abuse. And he interweaves all of his examples with the life experiences of these men that he has worked with in the past, who agreed to have their stories shared for this book. So it's not just the facts, but it's also this personal stuff too. And all of it has spoken to me. So, and I heard you might be having him on your podcast soon too, which is just wonderful.
A matter of fact. Yes.
Yeah, we were just
hoping to interview him soon, possibly next
I'm trying
weekend.
to nail Kevin down. I'm like, when? Well, anytime next weekend. I'm like, when?
This
we'll
weekend,
figure it out.
This weekend doesn't work, but next weekend, yes, I think we will.
Can we talk about the progression? Because there's a couple things that have come up for me. And Mike, it has been such a joy to watch and I don't even know if I want to say growth, because I feel like when we met you, you had done so much work, but just seeing how, and one of the things so I've been kind of going through, I don't know that I'm going through it longer than Kevin, but when we started this work, there was a lot of triggers, and it would kind of shut us down for a while. Because I teach podcasting, and I told Kevin, we have to do one every week. We have to post one every week. And this work is hard and triggering. And so we can't always do that. So what I want to do is have a little bit of a conversation as both of you, as you're growing and progressing, because I'll just share, Mike and I both got triggered in a class the other day. And we we have to keep going. And so people are listening and that's happening to them. And they may not even recognize it. Like in the beginning, when you get triggered, you know, you don't recognize it. You're just like off in la la land. So can we talk a little bit about how you kind of get yourself back and keep going?
Certainly.
For is it called the greater good? I don't know, but.
Right. I don't know. For me, I know the one instance that I know happened, we were talking about something related to abuse and specific trigger. Some of the students, not everyone is from an abuse background. They're in the class, which is wonderful, and we get to learn from each other. But they want to know, why would this be a trigger? And then I kind of bluntly explained, well, this is a trigger for some people because, and then I explained the reason behind it. And then we moved on elsewhere, but I didn't. And I didn't realize I was triggered as well. In this instance, I dissociated. And
I actually did notice it.
Yeah.
And I knew what was going on. Yeah.
You guys asked, oh, it looks like Mike has something really important to say, just because of the intent look on my face. So, Mike, did you want to share? We do this class all on Zoom. That pulled me back in. So I was a million miles away, just rehashing that particular trigger and what that meant to me in my own recovery. And then as soon as my name was said, I came back. Of course, I fudged it. It's like, oh no, I was just thinking about something, and minimizing it at the time. But then I texted Lori after. It's like, yeah, when you saw that, yeah, I had dissociated. And I'm kind of curious, what did that even look like? What was my face doing? Because I have no idea.
I don't think anybody else would have known. I know because I know. But and that's why I phrased it as, you look like you have something to say, because I didn't want to say, I think you just got triggered. Hello, come back, because I didn't know that would be appropriate. But I've been thinking a lot about that this week, because number one, I want you in that class so bad. I'm like, I don't want, you to be like, this is too much, but we are going to get triggered. And I get triggered for other reasons, but it's like, it's finding that place that, okay, it's okay. And then when we recognize it, maybe in some places it might be appropriate to say, boy, that just really triggered me. Can we talk about it? Or can we just move on to it? I feel like this is an important conversation. And Kevin, you've had this issue too. Yeah, and one of them was with Ashley's story. So I kind of like to hear how you work through that.
Well, and not only Ashley's story, but when I first started sharing my testimony in church, and I realized and it was a just sudden realization that my first childhood memory is of being abused. And I had never really vocalized that or even mentally realized that. And that sent me spiraling for weeks. I mean, you remember, Lori, it was weeks.
I do.
And I think this is very important to talk about, because as we grow in our healing, as we get better and better, we think we're getting stronger, and we are getting stronger. That doesn't mean triggers go away. What it means is we have awareness. And Mike, you weren't aware at the time, but it does get more obvious as we get more and more experienced with being triggered, and then recognizing when we're, whatever our coping mechanisms are, which, in your case was probably just checking out, like you say, disassociating, which is
in a very regal way. He just had his head on his chin, like, I'm here, but I'm not.
Yeah. And that's a real, I disassociate. That was my common, but I also found ways of helping me disassociate, which was drugs and alcohol. And those were great, because not only was I disassociating, but I was feeling great because I was, all wasted and so forth. But the important thing is you do become more aware of when all of a sudden things change, and something caused it to change. Your perspective, your awareness, where you're at, all of a sudden you start to realize you're not, there anymore. And then you're thinking, oh, what happened? I just kind of checked out. It's kind of like when you're driving and you're thinking of something at the same time you're driving, and then you get home and you just realize you drove for 45 minutes and you don't remember any of it because you were just checked out, spacing out on some thought of whatever happened. But
and triggers don't always look like dissociation either. There's lots of other ways that triggers can manifest, get angry or get you upset.
Yeah, I mean,
there's tons of different ways. Yes.
Disassociating is those are our coping mechanisms. Sometimes we get angry. We all have our own methods, and we generally have a variety of them. And it kind of, I think, sometimes depends on what the trigger is, on how we react, how we cope, and for a lot of us who were abused at a younger age and so forth, these reactions are just automatic because we didn't have normal coping mechanisms. We were still learning how to react in our environment. We're learning what to do. And so when we get triggered, we kind of go back to that primal reaction, and we don't recognize it very easily because it's just how we react. So you have to become aware of when something triggers you, you have to pause and not react, but figure out what's happening and then handle it rather than just react. But yeah, it has taken time sometimes to just kind of get back grounded, because there have been times when it's not always, I tend to be very empathetic, so hearing someone else's story can affect me. And I don't know if you saw the whole thing with she did a big special on TV, and where she went out and reached out to other survivors and so forth. And she had to be really careful because she was so empathetic that if they went into detail with their stories, it really affected her. And I completely got it when she was talking about, because there have been a couple times when the stories hit me and then I have to go back and edit and
hear them again,
go through it. And while I'm editing, I'm very aware of, okay, this very well may be a trigger to me, and so I have to prepare. And my general reaction is I need to take more time, and just when it gets overwhelming, I just slow down, take a little break, make sure I'm okay, make sure I'm grounded. If I can't go any further for a little while, it's okay. And then I'll come back to it when I'm ready, because it's not always easy. And I think, like you were saying, Mike, it is hard work.
Yeah.
It is.
And then practicing self-care in the middle of that, because I get it. I've worked with male survivors since 2019. And yes, once people realize you got a little bit of recovery, they're coming to you for help.
Yeah.
And here's my story. This is what's going on with me. And then you listen. Yeah, you get triggered. Every single story I read, part of me gets triggered, and it can be very difficult. And then interacting, and sometimes they go into deep descriptions about what happened, and that can help trigger your own memories about what happened to you. And so yes, and practicing self-care, even reading Doug's book, it's like, okay, I'm going to have to put this down for the night, and I'm not going to read anymore. I need to take care of me, because it's you can only take so much. It's wonderful, it's healing, and it means you're getting the gunk out. But all that stirring up, sometimes, okay, you just need to let things settle and let things calm down before you continue. While we're talking about triggering, Husband Material did an in-person retreat this past fall. The leader, Drew, the very first night, he said, I'd really love to say that no one's going to get triggered during this retreat, but I know I cannot say that. In fact, I'm going to tell you now, you will get triggered this weekend, and it is okay. This is a safe place. So if you do get triggered, when you do get triggered, reach out. Reach out to the leaders, reach out to the other campers. We were all camping. Reach out, because this is a safe place, and you can talk about these triggers, because we're all from broken places. We all have different types of brokenness. Just setting the stage that, you will get triggered, but it's okay. Share. And I know one night, several of us were up late. We just said, okay, how are you triggered this weekend so far? And we went around the table and talked about certain things, just random things, random interactions. I felt not included. I felt whatever it was, and why was that triggering? Oftentimes because of a childhood wound. And just discussing that with other men. And it was just so profound and so healing to share openly.
I always say a good coach is well coached. And if you are in leadership and if you're a coach, a counselor, you want to ask and get the help you need to support you in helping others. So I remember when Kevin, the first big trigger, and he was really upset because he said, I expected that I was farther than this. Mm-hmm. And I think what he learned was it's not about being farther than this. Yeah. It's about this is what's going to keep happening. Yeah. And we get a little better and better at it. But, you know, even after years, there could be somebody that comes with a story pretty close to yours that you've never heard before that will knock your socks off. And so, like Mike said, it's self-care and it's first recognizing it. I remember in the beginning, there were a couple times I got so triggered. I had little kids at home where I was just walking around, literally just, I'm walking around the house, just walking. I'm not doing anything. And then I remember all of a sudden going, what is happening? And then I realized I'd seen something on the news, but it took a long time. Well, now I'm much quicker. Mm-hmm. And if I get to that place of bumbling, then that's what I do. I call a friend that can hear this, or I do something self-care. But first it's recognizing it, because when you're first sharing your story and hearing other people's, you don't really get what's happening to you. You just, like, for me, I was just like, what is happening? I can't stop walking. I don't know what I'm trying to do or think or anything.
Yeah, it's almost, I see triggering as a good thing because it means we're not numbing. Yeah. We're allowing ourselves to feel. And that's good that you're getting those feelings out. You're giving yourself permission to feel. So stuff triggers, it doesn't shut you down. It comes up and you get those feelings out and you deal with them, which is so healthy. But we're at a place where, we're dealing with the crap. Stuff is going to trigger because we're dealing with the crap. Mm-hmm. And if we weren't, it would just roll off our backs like water on a duck.
Yeah, and we'd just be stuck in the mud still. Yeah. And that's one of the things one of Charnel's therapists said, and I should probably give her credit for this. But she said feelings are information, and they are. They're keys. Mm-hmm. That feeling is a key to a part of us. And for me, a lot of times, those feelings that when I get triggered and I have those feelings, I go back to that little kid. I go back because even though I've told him I'm going to keep him safe, I've told him I'm never going to leave him, I'm always going to protect him and so forth, he still has those times when he feels like the little scared kid that has nowhere to go, nowhere safe. No one's going to protect him. And so I have to go back to that little kid and say, we're going to be okay. We're going to get through this. You need to reassure. And it's hard for men because they don't want to be that little kid anymore. You don't want to go back there anymore. That wasn't a safe place. That wasn't a good place to be. But you got to go there and say, it's going to be okay. I'm going to take care of you now.
You're not in charge. I am. Big me is in charge now.
Yeah, but I'm in charge because I can take care of you. You don't have to worry about being taken care of. It's gonna be okay. It's hard though.
Mm-hmm. Well, you feel a little bit, we talk about dissociating, you feel a little multiple there,
talking to your little self inside.
But I do this with my recovery clients all the time because, like Mike mentioned, so many of my clients in recovery, it didn't start with drugs and alcohol. It started with something. And at first they're like, they just think that's so crazy. But once they start addressing that for us, because I mostly coach women, it begins to change everything because then they realize that's who's freaking out.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, there's a quote. It's a meme on Facebook. I don't even know where it's quoted from, but heal the boy and the man will appear.
Huh.
I haven't heard that. I love it.
Heal the little boy and the man will appear. One of the things I love about husband material, part of their coursework within their academy section, is working with your younger self. There's actually, you do exercise where it's big brother, little brother. So you're now big brother to that little boy, working with him and honoring him and finding ways to allow him to feel safe, and developing a relationship between adult you and child you. Just amazing result of that lesson. I ended up going to a Comic-Con, something I've never done. I've always wanted to go,
I love
always
Comic-Con.
scared to go, but I knew it would be cool. I got a friend, he was into it, he was going to go. And so we went together, and I went as Santa Claus dressed up as a Jedi. So as a Jedi Knight from Star Wars. So it was kind of a mashup between the two. It was such a blast. And it's my full Santa outfit, but then with some Jedi garb on top of it, and a candy cane lightsaber that I created. And
I wondered where that came from.
It was nonstop photo ops. I could not, just getting to the front door, I was stopped like 5 times to get a selfie with all these other people. Well, and my friend warned me, "Oh, dude, you're going to be stopped constantly." And I didn't really believe him, and then I did, and then it happened. And yeah, I did walk the expo floor for several hours, and it was just photo after photo after photo. Just seeing how much joy I brought others was just mind blowing. Even people behind the booths who see all these characters all day long, they were geeking out over me. And it's like, whoa, it was amazing. And little Mike just ate that up. It was so cool because we played dress up. And Santa, yeah, that's kind of a part of it. So we definitely played dress up as Santa, but this was something else. Yeah, I love Star Wars. Having that, yeah, it was phenomenal. But honoring that little boy, letting him have play. I've got a friend in husband material. He never had a lot of toys as a child, and he's allowing himself to play. He's got a good paying job. He bought himself toys, little toy trucks. And then as he would meet up with us in person, he lives like 1 state away from me. He starts giving away his toys and then just buying more. So I have this is the little truck that he gave me, and he shares pictures of when he just plays with, it's a little construction of backhoe or whatever it's called. I don't know. I think front loader or something like that.
Front loader, very good.
Yes. And so he plays in the dirt. He gets down in the dirt and just gives himself time to play. He got me down in the dirt playing with his trucks. And it was hilarious. And it so fed me and fed him and all these other guys that he's met in this region in person. Yeah. And he ends up giving them one of his trucks, and then he just buys another one. It's just amazing. Honoring that little boy, that wounded boy inside of you or girl, is just so healing. He needs to know that he is loved.
Yeah.
And sadly, for many of us, he didn't get that as a child very much. So
many of us lost our childhoods, and you don't realize, because it sounds so silly, but how cathartic it is, how important it is. I mean, it is tremendously important. And not only honoring them, but telling them how brave they were and giving them credit for how they made it through all this horrible crap they had to deal with. When I look at, not just my own childhood, but other people we've talked to, their childhoods, what they went through, you've got to give those kids credit. Holy cow, they had a shitty time and they made it. And one way or another, they made it. And you gotta, I feel like we all deserve the Purple Heart.
Celebration. Yeah.
Right. It's amazing how much healing our God, the great physician, can do. He uses people, he uses craziness. I mean, playing with toys. Who knows? How deep, playing dress up, how deep of that healing that brings. It's ridiculous, but it's so true. Like that retreat I was on, there was a chunk of us who, yes, we had sexual abuses in our history, but not everyone did. But almost all of us have trauma, which is what brings on the pornography addiction or any other addiction that you have. So yeah, it's so easy to get wounded, so easy to get triggered for all of us, not only those of us recovering from abuse, but many of us had traumas. No one goes through life without trauma. I mean, because life is not perfect and people aren't perfect. And so stuff happens.
We all need to heal.
I love my wife. She's going through her own recovery issues, not the same kind of trauma I've experienced, but she has her own traumas. I'm so proud of her for working on her stuff as well. Yeah, it's also harmful for her, and she's digging through all of that and working through all of those issues as well. So there's so many hurts out there.
But she's got someone there to support her.
Yep. And likewise, she does a lot of supporting of me as well.
Now, when you did the poetry, were you journaling? Have you journaled? Is that part of your...
Well, what I would do, because I hate journaling, especially paper and pen, what I did was kind of blog. I went on Male Survivor and I just dumped. And it's a wonderful forum, so you could post and then people respond, and then you can respond to their responses, and then you kind of workshop your stuff. That's how I found out I was trafficked. I threw all kinds of, I've got this huge memory block. I don't know what it is, but this is what I do remember. Boom, 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 boom. Ooh, look at that. Ooh, I think you might have been trafficked. Really? Oh, okay. And then it's like, oh, then the memory kind of, boom, opened up, and yeah, I was. So yeah, I just poured out, and then that got me, yeah, you probably have PTSD. Really? Okay. And then I had PTSD. I talked to my therapist. Do you work with PTSD? Nope. Let's find someone who does. So we found my PTSD therapist and worked on all that stuff. And he's wonderful. He's helped me so much.
And kudos for going to therapy, because, you know, we do hear stories with people that haven't, and maybe they will, because I mean, I had a friend who texted me and said, oh, I met my therapist waiting. And I said, oh, I miss therapy. You know, it's like, it's such a good thing to do. It doesn't mean, oh, you have a problem, you're bad. It's a wonderful thing because you get seen and heard.
It's so hard to start, because especially for men,
right?
I know a lot of men feel like if they admit there's something wrong with them, then they're a failure.
Right.
So to admit that we need help.
It seems to be worse with Christian men in the church community. They feel it's a sign of weakness, or that you don't have enough faith. No, it's just giving you more tools to help you on your recovery journey. It's fine. If you got a broken bone, you would go see a doctor.
Yeah, well, and as Christians, we recognize we're all fallen. But when we're in a Christian community, it's so hard to admit, well, I'm still messed up here. You know, I'm still fallen here. There's still this thing that I got to deal with. We don't want to admit that. So reaching out to get help is difficult. But once you start, you realize, oh, now I get it. I'm actually going to be able to talk about this stuff and not bottle it up and hide it and get to the roots. I love it that when I asked you if you journaled, you were like, well, I blog, well, I go to listen. You basically journaled in public.
Right.
You wanted to journal
in
public. When I journaled, I didn't want anyone to see it. And, you know, maybe I'd show it, a few of them, to some people, but boy, I wasn't going to be like journaling in public. But you're like,
and
sharing
well, that's
with
the wonderful
everyone.
thing about Male Survivor is it's public, but it's also anonymous. You create your profile, anonymous. You give yourself whatever fake name you want, and you go on there. You need a real email account, but it is very public. And
it is public, but it is private. But yes, I love it that you want
public
to
and private,
share
exactly.
your thoughts. I just love that, Mike. I mean, the more I hear about your story, it just tickles me so much.
And you can share the deep darks.
Yeah.
And they get it too.
Yeah.
So it's very safe. And like reading Doug's book, it's like I'm really getting triggered and I have this whole new memory as a result of reading this certain chapter. Okay, what do I do with that? Okay, it's not something you can't just call up a buddy who doesn't deal with this stuff and say, well, I think I was tied to a chair. Okay, what are they going to do with that? And I can go to Male Survivor and say, yeah, I think this is part of my story now that I didn't remember. You'll get heard.
Yes.
And it's safe. And then other guys, yeah, I know. And I hate when that happens when you're, part of it's frustrating. Okay, I'm reading a book and I got triggered again. So it's not only what the new trigger was, that was a huge part of it, but the fact that I got triggered. And it's like, oh yeah, I hate that. I mean, I was just going the other day and it's just like, boom, and more stuff pours out. How frustrating it is. And you feel so heard there.
Yes. an
Yes.
amazing forum. I am so thankful that they're doing that. I mean, that is a
Yes. And it's been around for well over a decade. And they've had, I think, 10,000 individuals, men who have logged on.
I think it's
and
over
shared their story.
14,000 now.
Yeah, well,
It's huge.
over 10,000, and then hundreds of thousands of posts
Yes.
that
yes.
they've archived, and they've got a search bar. You put just about anything in there, chances are there's going to be a post, if not multiple posts about whatever.
Yeah.
And if there isn't one, make one, and you probably get all kinds of responses. Oh,
Yes.
me too, me too, me too. And it's just so validating to know that, yeah, you're not crazy, that all this weirdness going on, there's a reason behind it. That's such a great resource as well. Survivor.org.
It's what one of our keynotes was at the beginning. You're not alone. You're not alone. And when I first tried to deal with this stuff, I was in a men's group. There was 5 of us, but there was 5 of us at that time. That was huge, huge. But that was it, besides a couple of books. Mike Liu's book, Victims No Longer. That amazing book. It's still amazing book. I don't know if you've read that.
I have not, but I've heard of it. It's bounced around. But going through Wounded Heart for the first time, which was huge. And we did a book study. So with other men, and being in a room with other survivors was just huge.
Yeah.
Sharing. That was so powerful. And that was, I did that like 15, 20 years ago, going through a book study with that. It was amazing. And then I did a weekend of recovery with Men Healing. That was in person. That was in 2019. That was huge.
Well, to be able to share something so intimate and so vulnerable with another man, especially if your perpetrator was a man. For me, I didn't trust men.
Right. Ditto.
And I had a really hard time, but it took some time. But by the time we got to trust each other and be able to share, it was just a huge step to get to that point, to trust all these men. I mean, that was the closest I'd ever been to any other men before, because I always kept those walls up around my relationships with men. You know, I'd be friends, we'd have all this stuff, but there was limits. There was very set boundaries.
Right.
And to open those boundaries up and let them in was huge. And I think that's so important. And that's one of the things that forum is so amazing for. And also these retreats and so forth.
Right.
They allow you to take down some of these walls and let someone into your vulnerable spots. And then you realize you're going to survive it. You're going to get through it. You can do that and you won't be hurt. You'll grow in strength by allowing someone to know your vulnerable spots and actually grow through them.
Right. I don't know if this is true for you, Kevin, but in those groups, I felt so seen and so accepted and loved, because everyone shares their stories in these things. So you share your story and you're hearing everyone else's story. You know, they've been through it too.
Yeah.
They get it. You feel you can just, it's like you're naked. You're not naked, but you know, you're just pouring out and you just feel so seen and accepted. And there's such power in that, especially as men, having all these other men see you, you're seeing them. And it's indescribable how deep and wonderful that is.
I felt like they were my closest friends I'd ever had, even though I'd never known them before. And we came from completely different backgrounds, completely varied ages, varied professions, and yet they were we were bonded. And not only that, but it allowed me to feel closer with and more vulnerable with my other friends that were men, and allowed me to, even if I didn't open up, even if I didn't, share anything really vulnerable or anything with these other men, I realized we're all fragile. All of us men there's these little things that we don't share with each other, but we have them and we hide them from each other, but we all have these sides that we're hiding. I understood what I was doing before, so I started to begin to understand what most men do. We show that one side, our mask. We keep the rest from everyone, but there is that rest. And I kind of related to other men even more.
Right. when your own mask comes down, you kind of can see the mask that other people are wearing.
Exactly. You could see the mask that other men
and see
have.
through the mask. Yeah.
But you start to feel for the person behind the mask.
Yes.
Even though they don't take the mask down, you realize that is their mask, but there's, a hurt kid or a lonely kid or a kid that needs to have attention or something behind there.
Right. That goes, one of you mentioned empathy earlier. And I feel a lot of empathy working with others when I hear their stories. It's like I also feel their feelings and I feel their pain, which is hard because there's a lot of pain.
Yes.
But yeah, that empathic, even with people who are not having abuse histories, but they've got other pains. I feel those feelings. And yeah, it can be hard. It can be exhausting. Finding ways to practice self-care.
Yeah.
Very important when you're working with others.
Yeah.
What is it? Don't pour out of an empty vessel, that you need to be constantly filling yourself up.
Yeah.
So you have more to share.
You have to have your recharge, you have to have your refresh button.
Yeah, right.
I had that today. It was a pretty beautiful day up here in the Northwest. Sorry to rub it in, but we had gorgeous weather and I went for a nice bike ride, and I can't explain why bike riding is my refresh, but it works every time. I think just being focused and intent and that, the exercise, everything about it. And ever since I was a little kid, I mean, that's part of feeding my inner child is bikes. Because as soon as I got a bike, I was in love, when I was a kid.
Yes.
So it still feeds me. And so I got to do that today. That was my preparation for tonight.
I loved riding my bike as a child. Loved that so much. Just that sense of freedom and safety, because you could flee. If whatever trouble was there, you could get on that bike and zoom away. And so that safety, independence, freedom, all of that, very empowering. Yeah. Brought my bike to college. I think my senior year, I biked every day to school. That was my challenge because I knew I wasn't going to get a car. So, but I didn't want to ride the bus. And I actually rode my 10-speed to school every day. And then ride it to college and biked everywhere. Eventually got my license and got a car.
Where was this? Where did you
go? Oregon.
So you went all year round.
Yeah.
Even in the winter.
Oh, yeah.
Dang.
Rain. I think one time it was like a little icy, but school was still open. So it's like, okay, I rode the bus maybe like once or twice.
Yeah. Ice is no fun on the bike.
Right.
It's bad news.
But even rain, I had my raincoat, rain get up, and so forth. And then it was fine.
You could still go riding.
But my daughter had a bike in college, and then she never used it, and she gave it to me, and I have it, but I still haven't given myself time to ride it, and it also needs work. So I really need to take it to the bike shop, have them do whatever they need to do with it, get it working right, so I can actually use it, and then actually use it. But I haven't done it yet.
So before we leave, I want to make sure people know how to get Doug's book and about these retreats, in case they would like to sign up.
Yes. Again, the website for the retreat is husbandmaterial.com/retreat. And on the retreat page, there is a link to Doug's book. And I believe you're going to have a link to his book on the show notes as well.
Yes.
My own life coaching that I'm doing now, my email address for coaching is polarlifeconsulting@gmail.com. POLAR.
Since that's where Santa lives.
It was a good fit for that Santa part of me. And that's really part of healing. And being Santa is experiencing joy and getting to the point in your life where you can experience joy and share joy. And that's kind of the goal for all of us. So I figured that was a good fit for my my consulting group. Yes. So that's my email. Feel free to reach out. My Santa page, facebook.com/Santa Mike ENC, which stands for Eastern North Carolina, because I'm in Eastern North Carolina. And that's where I am on Facebook. And that's all my Santa stuff and my whole history of being Santa. All that stuff is on there. So, and because I do video visits, I can do video visits anywhere. So that is definitely a growing area, and people are liking that more because it's more of that one-on-one.
Yeah, nice.
Pictures of you in Comic-Con in your Santa.
Oh yes, we'll put that in the show notes. Yeah, I know I've shared.
Well, I've seen that on you or Facebook. So it must be on your Facebook page.
Yes. Oh, it's definitely there among other places. But yes, that was very fun. Yeah, and it's so much fed little Mike. Definitely plan on going, and I think I'm going to get probably a hotel room adjacent to the venue because sometimes you need a break. There's so many layers. There's no safe place to undo layers. So you basically just have to leave. So, but yeah, if you have a hotel, you can go take everything off, come into street clothes for a while, then go back. Yes. So that's definitely a little wiser. So yes. So I do plan on returning to those and maybe do more than one.
Well, thank you so much, Mike. It's so fun to follow up and just see, what you're doing and just that there's hope. And even, stepping into this, like some people I noticed with the drug and alcohol recovery, they jump in and they want to help more people. Some people don't so much. They want to kind of turn and go another way, do their work. And that's okay, whatever people decide. But seeing you just dive in and go for it and knowing that it's not easy work. Doing it for yourself or even helping others. It's not easy, but it's so valuable.
And it's good to be prepared if you do want to help others and do want to reach out and so forth, that you need to be able to know when to take care of yourself, know when it's affecting you, know when it's too much, or you just need to slow down because it will happen. And like we said, what was it you said about you have to have the full cup?
You need to be pouring out of a full vessel.
Yes, because otherwise you're just dragging someone down to your level of struggling.
And you're literally running on empty.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So, and boy, Mike, you have been a busy man. It's just amazing. I just love it. It's great. It's great. It's good to touch back with you. And I can't wait to tell you, but I might be going to North Carolina soon.
Oh, wonderful. I would love to meet you in person, give you a big
hug.
And that would be wonderful.
Charnel can't wait, but her brother lives in North Carolina, and he teaches at East Carolina
University, which is like 35 minutes away from me.
Yes, that's what he said. He's literally just down the road.
Oh, that's wonderful.
This year is his last year. He's going to retire, so we're going to go out there and help him move to Florida. But I said, we have to set aside some time because I need to go say hi. I'm so excited. But it's probably going to be in the fall. We were hoping to go out there in March and then go shopping with him to look for a house in Florida, but turns out, once his students found out that he was retiring, they have all their theses that they need him to help them with. And so he is just overwhelmed. Right. So it's not going to be until fall, but we will be in touch. And I can't wait. I'm so excited.
That is wonderful. And you guys are so special to me as the first place I've shared publicly my story. And you guys are just awesome. And I love you both. And you've meant so much in my journey. And it's like, go to their podcast. It's really good. Yeah. And thank you, Kevin, for boasting in Male Survivor, because that's where I found you. I believe, you shared about your podcast. Really? Oh, a podcast. And I listened and, hey, we want to hear your story and come and share your story with us. And it's like, oh, okay. Hey, want me to share my story with you? And you said, of course. And yes, and the rest is history. And it was just so wonderful.
Well, thank you, Mike. We love you and can't wait to see you soon.
And we'll check in another year.
Yes, or sooner.
We need to keep doing this. Well,
definitely, if you have another panel, I'd be more than willing to come and share.
Yeah, no, we'd like to have you and Luke, and then we'd like to include Gino because I think it would be really
Gino good. And I think, actually, Tom and Andy.
Oh, Tom would love to be on.
Yeah, Tom and Andy. So we're gonna have a soon, but we're so busy doing interviews. It's gonna we gotta get these interviews, and then
that's a good problem to have.
Yes,
we'll just pick a.
That was our whole intent from the beginning.
Yeah. We'll just pick a Saturday. Kevin and I'll nail a couple Saturdays down or Sunday afternoons, and then put it out there and see who can do what.
Wonderful.
So
always willing to help you out. And what you do is so great. And the stories you've gotten from the people you've interviewed and just the random topics you've discussed as well. I'm always thrilled. Oh, they have a new post. They have a new podcast post, a new episode post. Oh, that's wonderful.
Yeah. Well, and I'm really glad we talked about the triggering, because I feel like that's what I realized when we interviewed Gino, that a lot of people don't know that they don't realize they're going through a process. They don't realize that it's all forward movement. And so
it's normal.
It's normal.
Yeah.
Yes. So thank you guys for sharing that.
Yes.
So that's it for today.
We are going to have a prayer time if you want to stick with us. If not, we believe in you.
We want to hear from you. We want to hear your stories.
If you like this podcast, please rate and review, because that's how other people can find us. And we really want to spread this message.
Thank you, Father, for all your blessings, especially the blessings of just being in companionship with our fellow survivors, our fellow believers, the people that we love to just share with. And Lord, you built us for companionship. You built us for companionship with you. And I'm just so grateful that we are able to reach out, and especially in this day when we can reach out across the country and be in contact. And I feel like Mike's my best friend, even though I've never met him in person. I just, I love him. He's my favorite Santa. And it's such a blessing. And through our woundedness, you have worked with us and healed us, and also given us a reason to be. You've given us a reason to help and reach out. And as long as we're here, we have work to do. And I just thank you that you have pushed us and prodded us and helped us to continue to do that hard work in order that we can help others to do their hard work and get to that place of hope and healing with you, Lord, because you are our hope. And I just thank you for Mike and all the blessings that he has been doing in this time. And just thank you for him reaching out to us. That was such a blessing. And I'm so grateful that I am looking forward to getting to see him soon. And I thank you for that opportunity. In your name, I pray.
Father, thank you for Kevin and Lori and this wonderful podcast ministry you've called them to, and how it's reached me and touched me. And I know it has reached so many other men and women dealing with this issue of recovery from abuse, Lord. And it's so widespread and so many hurting people. I pray you will allow this to grow and spread and reach to all those people who need to know that healing is possible, that the abuse was not their fault, and there is a path to healing. They can recover, they can get better, and not only survive, but thrive. And there's a whole life waiting for them that you have for them, Lord. Thank you. Thank you for how much recovery you brought me over these past several years, and the role you're now allowing me to play in helping others, just like the roles you've given Lori and Kevin, helping others in their recovery. And it's such an honor to be able to help others along their way and along their path to healing. Thank you for that. Continue to give us wisdom and to giving ourselves self-care when needed, because it can be extra traumatic working with those who have trauma in their stories. It can be traumatic for us as well. So allow us to have wisdom and practice self-care when needed. Thank you for all of your blessings, Father, what you've done here and what you've done in each of us. Thank you so much for your healing touch. In Jesus' name.
Father, I just am been thinking so much about with this conversation tonight, where it says, without a vision, the people perish. And that what Mike said, that if we don't have a vision, we can't recover. And I think of Kevin's vision of doing this podcast. I think of Mike's vision of being the Santa. And Lord, I thank you that we can look to you. We can look to what you would have us do, and we can have something to cling on to that will help us in recovery, that will help us to rise up, float up. I think of a hot air balloon, Lord. And I just pray for vision, that somebody that's sharing their story or just recognizing it, Lord, that you will help their sight to be open, that they would speak out. And I mean, Mike probably never thought 3 years ago he'd be a Santa and loving it, but that's how awesome you are, God. And I'm so grateful. So I just pray that as we walk through, you will open our eyes to the vision you have for us of how we can serve you and serve others. In your holy name, amen.
Amen.
Amen.